G'day, everyone. Welcome to another episode of our podcast where today we're going to talk to a fantastic team leader who's grown 10 team members in 10 months. Sounds too good to be true. It's absolutely not. He's a rock star. Let's get stuck in and learn his secret sauce right now. So joining me on today's podcast is Jarrat Wood, the owner of Longevity. Jarrat, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Now, we're going to dive straight in because most people are listening to this and they go, the first little bit of a podcast is always the boring intro stuff. So we're going to dive straight into the guts of it. The fact of the matter is you guys are a EP practice with EPs, PTs, etc. in Sydney, multiple locations. Do you want to give us a quick 20-second rundown of how it's sort of structured for you guys?
So you're right. The services are EP, I'd say EP, ES, PT, so exercise physiology, exercise science, PT. So sort of we cross that spectrum. A lot of different collaborations with, we have our own site, but we also have collaborations with various gyms and clinics. So it's quite a flexible model is how I would describe it. It's quite a different options for different people in different suburbs. And yeah.
A lot more agility in your framework as opposed to being sort of set and boxed into the one place, one location.
Yeah, and it's quite deliberate. It sounds like it's not because it's quite flexible, but it's quite deliberate in its design.
Method in your madness, mate.
That's it. We call it anti-fragility, but if anyone's read the book by Nassim Taleb, that's sort of the principle behind it, but there's lots of other ways to put it.
Absolutely. I think you're a little bit like me, getting a bit frustrated over the last year or so with everyone wanting to pivot because of COVID. It's a pivot. And anyone who's needing to pivot in their business is fundamentally got a business that is broken, and we shouldn't need to pivot. We just need to be more agile at all times.
Yeah. Fundamental attitude.
Absolutely. So, mate, let's dive into it. There's obviously some secret sources in behind the fact that you've gone from like 8 or 9 team members to like 19 team members in just a tad over 10 months, which is absolutely phenomenal. So first of all, well done because you're on the team. And I know that you won't take all the credit for it because I know the team's been fantastic. But ultimately, at the end of the day, mate, you're the one steering the ship. So let's have a bit of a dive into it now. What are some of the secret sources that you found in the last 10, 12 months, 18 months, working with us and how we put all this together, and like talk me through what's been the secret sauce? What would you say are some of the key ingredients for you guys to have gotten that right for 10 team members added in 10 months?
So I think there's a lot of things that have happened in the last year, but there's also like you always got to go back to like the history of like what didn't you get right before when you tried to do these kind of things.
Absolutely.
So a lot of lessons there, and just I think it's important to just be a student of like what makes people tick, and so that just crosses over into the workplace. So if you're a good student of basic psychology, you can start to think, well, okay, food, shelter, water, and you can look at Maslow's hierarchy and things like that.
Maslow's
but then you translate
needs, yeah.
Yeah, and then you can translate that across to, okay, well, like, what would make me excited to come to work all the time? And then you dig into your workplace and you just get really specific on like what's turning people on, what's turning people off, what are the lessons from the past, resignations, people that have stayed a long time, short time, and getting just huge amounts of feedback and refining that over time. I think the secret to this phase has been the previous phase was probably just working on myself to make sure we've got people that enjoy working in the environment that sort of I had created when we're smaller. Of course, It's not so much of a we then, but it was always going to be a we. But this phase is a group of people that are the next layer that people are happy to work with. So it's sort of that next level of managers that you can grow teams with and under, and also providing, if we put someone into an individual setting, getting better at recruiting the people who can handle that setting. So we get a better understanding of what skills are needed here to work a little bit more independently and recruiting to that. And then in the teams that we've grown, it's been really specific about helping the leader or the manager of that group become the person that they need to be to take care of team members.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me dive into that because there's a huge amount of avenues. We could pick apart that all day. One of the things you said was about learning from, past mistakes and errors and that type of stuff. Is there particular ways that you find that the best way to get that type of information? Is it do you work on exit interviews, or is it more just breaking down that rearview mirror of looking behind you at all times? Like how do you feel that it works best for yourselves?
All of the above. Like I think you just do all of it.
D, yeah, all of the
Yeah,
above.
you do all of it. Like exit interviews are really good, but I mean, you get better at conducting them too. So you get better information each time you do it. The way that you recruit, you learn lessons from interviews, right? You learn lessons from the people
Massively.
that maybe withdraw from an interview process, or they hear something in the interview, and every time you say that thing, someone gets excited to work for you. So you get all these lessons of what's there.
So can I ask, do you deliberately in your hiring process, do you deliberately try and push people a little bit to maybe deselect themselves?
Yeah. A lot more now, because as you grow, you get more definite about who you are and what you stand for, and so we're really good at.
You set the beat and the rhythm of how the business and the team's going to move, and you can just start to march to that beat.
Yeah, and I think when you're first starting to hire, it's a selection process, and now it's like 50-50. We're looking to select and deselect at the same time, but we're also doing that for you. We don't put it in the thing of like it's like, let us tell you some things that you might not like about the way we work, and let's tell you some things that you might love, and you're just sort of saying things to people all the way that this is as much about you choosing us as us choosing you. If we're both not super excited about each other at the end of this process, we've got something wrong. It's not going to be the right fit.
Yeah. And let's be honest, there's a massive amount of workload out there in the allied health industry right now. Like everyone is trying to hire. You are, we are, everyone is. But you have to make sure that you get the right person. You have to make sure that you're very succinct in what you do. And sometimes you're better off not taking someone just because they're available if you know they're not going to be a right fit. So getting that process right is absolutely crucial.
Yeah. Yeah. And that phase we're talking about, this phase where we've added those amount of team members, a lot of an increasing reliance on the current team. Like they know more and more who we are, what we are. So they're making suggestions. They're saying we should approach this person. This person would click with us. I've got a friend who says the kind of things that we say, does the kind of things that we do.
It's like Seth Godin taught the world, like people like us do things like this. It's like the people that are already doing it, that are us, that they are us. They're part of our community or tribe. They act like us, talk like us, walk like us. They're just not actually here with us at the moment.
Yeah. And having that layered through where your own team members are, like, not always, but like they're just actively thinking about who might be the next team member. So they're excited about that. And obviously that adds, 100, 200, 300 potential connections that they could bring to the table that I couldn't just by myself.
Definitely. Now, talk me through the mindset you've had in regards to, you spoke about it's not just about you anymore. It's always been about the we, but you're talking about, in many respects, it's like that hierarchy type scenario. And we try not to have a hierarchy, but ultimately you do have to have someone that's steering the ship. And you will, when you get to a team of, 20, you're in that situation where you've got to have some more middle managers, or you've got to have some senior roles, senior therapist roles. You might have some mini captains, etc. Tell me how that might change around your hiring structure or the way in which you approach the development side of things?
There's a lot of different ways that you could answer that question, I think.
I'll be honest with you, it is a tricky one because I know I'm going a lot to your psychology of how you're making decisions in the business. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that comes down to like the people that like you hire originally, and like the ones that sort of obviously make their way up that chain. They're also the ones that understand what you need to do. And so they don't interpret that as a selfish act or it's not always a selfish thing. It can be anything. And they can trust that you're making the best decisions for the company, which allows you to then delegate more, open up more. You can share more information about the company. And like the momentum that picked up when I had some people that like I could put really high trust in, I could then share more information to them. And then because they're good people, they don't abuse that trust. Yeah. They layer that through and we can put that across the whole team. So, you were talking yesterday about like the geese or the ducks flying in a V shape and the efficiencies that creates.
Yeah. In our boardroom session yesterday, we're talking about the V shape with ducks flying. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So those whispers that go through the group that create this efficiency are super powerful. And some of that's intuitive. Some of that's just like you could trust that the way that they're going to speak to a potential new team member is this very close to the way you would speak. They're not copying, but it's from the same vision, mission, values. It's from the same levels. They're deselecting them around the same things. They're selecting them around the same things.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, and those people they're self-selecting, right? You create this environment, and the people that thrive in that environment rise to the top.
Well, I think that's something you haven't touched on in this podcast so far, is the fact that the environment of which you have created creates that pull effect, doesn't it? It's an attraction principle, not a. So it's like when we talk sales and marketing, it's got to be about pull marketing, not push marketing. It's not the dirty sales pushing. And I know earlier we were talking about just offline moments before, you were a little bit flustered from the conversations you've been having about websites and servers and all that type of stuff, and that sort of push down your throat type mentality. But when we flip that into the growth phase of the business as well, it's about creating that environment where people are drawn to you, not just from a marketing new client point of view, but also from team members, right? Like, it's creating that environment where it's like a vacuum. We want to create the space, create the opportunities, and create the environment to actually draw people in.
Yeah. And I think we had a joke, it was like a few boardrooms ago, where I sort of said, like, I think we should educate people on how to resign. And I know how that sounds, but think about, if you tell someone how to fall, like how to self-select or deselect all the way along, they're actually probably less likely to do that if you get the balance right. Of course, if no one wants to be surrounded by talk of resignations all day, that's over the top. But if you help someone understand that, like, if this isn't the right fit, you just need to let me know. And so that gives you the opportunity to nip it in the bud, to make sure they're not going down a career path that they're not enjoying, or working with a client base that doesn't really switch them on, or in the wrong location, traveling too far from home.
Have the right people on the bus at all times. And making people understand that if they feel like they need to get off the bus, that's okay. Let's pull the bus over at the next bus stop, help them get off and get on their way, knowing there's probably going to be someone at the bus stop waiting to get on the bus who is the right fit. Yeah.
And you're never dropping someone out, or they're never dropping themselves out. They're just getting on a different channel, and they might go into,
you step into another lane to accelerate, as opposed to kicking people off the bus or having that negative energy.
Yeah, and an innocuous one for us might be that someone takes a role in a hospital, right? And and like, you know this, and I know this, like, there's just a certain type of person that, like, a New South Wales health role or a hospital role would be perfect for. And they won't be our, and they almost certainly won't be our kind of people, because they probably aren't interested too much in, like, marketing and meetings and private stuff. Like, they're going to be more interested in, like, I just want to see patients.
I just want to see patients. I want to
care
help out with this type of demographic of clientele, and that's who they are. And that's completely fine, right?
Yeah, and we just make that all the way along. Like, if you don't like this, if sales is a dirty word to you, if you don't like building partnerships, if you're not a big collaborator, you don't want to be in front of GP meetings and stuff like that, totally get it. That's not for everybody. Just let us know.
Totally fine as well.
Yeah, but often they'll rise to the occasion, start to enjoy it, get the skills, and it's fun. Then it's fun.
Yeah, nice. Hey, mate, I'm going to pull up stumps on this session right here, buddy. But I know you guys, we've only just scratched the itch. We probably have to jump into another webinar, another podcast, and get some more guts out of it, because you guys have done a fantastic job. You should be really proud, and can't wait to see the months ahead of you guys accelerating and, trying to do more than another 10 team members in 10 months' time. Yeah,
and thank you for that. Thank you for the compliment, and also thank you for your help over the last 18 months.
Yeah, it's been a good journey, man. But it's, again, tip of the iceberg. It's like that tipping point, and we're accelerating out. So it's good. Good times ahead for you guys. Don't worry about that. Awesome, mate. I'll chat to you again very soon. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Hey, guys. Thank you very much for listening to another episode of the Profitable Practice Podcast. I would love nothing more than for you to be able to leave a review. I get so much joy out of listening and reading the amazing things that you guys say about this. So please subscribe to our channel, leave a review, and share it with your friends. Let's get some more fantastic information out there so all of us can grow the industry together. Cheers for now.